and it was just before their first scrim. And he said to me, you know, it's looking good, but obviously he's a rookie, he's motivated though, give him time. I messaged him yesterday for like a 2-week check-in. I was like, oh, how's he doing? He's like, dude, he's effing insane. And I was like, okay, that's a big change in message over the space of just 2 weeks. So everyone's very excited to see what he can do. I really hope he lives up to expectation, but there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. But I'm sure with 4 vets around him, this could be a strong game for them, but they've got some good opposition coming up against them in Wolves.
Yeah, I had a chance to chat to Stompin actually, and you know he came across as a very you know, a very down-to-earth, level-headed guy. He's, you know, he's only a young guy, turned 18 in February. He's, you know, undergone a big change going from the content side of things into pro play, where you know you not really playing for fun anymore. This is, you know, this is as real as it gets in terms of competitive Siege, and you know, having to switch. He's famously a controller player, and you know, he said he'd been playing mouse and keyboard for about 8 months now. So you know, the leveling up that he's done to get to this point in that space of time is really impressive. But yeah, you know, he comes across as sort of very laid back, very chill. So we'll see. We'll see how well he does. It's very exciting to witness. But we've got G2 versus Wolves, Des. We are on Loira, and we're going to get things underway.
For me, I was really curious about for G2 who was going to be their IGL now as well, because as we've probably heard historically, was Uno took over those IGL responsibilities from Alamau. Alamau wanted to focus on playing his game, being able to be a fragger essentially. And I asked Oki earlier today, who's the IGL now? Then he's like, oh, Alamau again. I just laughed at him and said, he's never getting away from that responsibility, is it? It's going to stick to him like a bad smell. There is very little they can do about it, but he is back in as their IGL, and let's see if he can take his team through to victory. We'll start things off on the attacking side. They're facing up against a pretty dug-in composition as well. I'm looking at all the stall available to G2 here with the clash. I'm sure Doki's going to have some real hijinks up his sleeve to employ in this round, but I'm looking in towards the smoke, in towards the goo mines, in towards the Vulcan canisters, in towards C4s. There's a lot to slow Wolves down here. So first and foremost, they've got to play the mini game of Siege and work their way through all this utility.
I'm going to give a shout to Krex as well, of course, because it might be the most unfortunate game to make your debut in of all time for Krex. Coming in on the same day, the same game that Stompin makes his debut as well. Yeah. So we will make sure that we keep an eye on Krex and give him every bit as much spotlight that he deserves. But yeah, he's going to obviously have to try and fit into that Wolves side as well. You know, 3 players there, particularly we've spoken about, you know, Leader, Noodle, Tyrant, who have really sort of come through together from the UK scene. So we'll see how well it all gels. But we're halfway through the first round, attacking up onto that top floor. And for the time being, G2 are dug in pretty nicely.
Trying to get rid of that bulletproof, not getting it the second time around there. Krex first day bouncing off the wall, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure. But manages to get rid of it now. Still being stalled out for a moment, but now that we're starting to see a lot of that utility being chewed through, he felt that one go past his ear, Tim. All that utility now chewed through, they should be able to start getting a bit of a march on. Has got the right idea, sees his man, they know what's going on. But I've got to start thinking about what this execute looks like. Noodle is the one to keep an eye on, as well as Imhop's here behind Krex. He's the one trying to get an opening going to start a march on fours. Do what he can try. Not that it matters, as Doki is falling down first elsewhere. Not the great spot to be in, as that's the clash offline.
As is going to find Loira as well. 5 versus 3 now. Wolves with a reasonable advantage. G2 did manage to clear off those ex-Kairos pellets that would have opened up onto Masked Wall, but other than that, it's pretty much all been going in the direction of Wolves. But Blaz does manage to find Tyrant. However, the trade game is good, and Leader picks up Alamau. Azza onto Stompin, and this is going one way at the minute. Blaz manages to get one as he peeks out, but it was straight into a crossfire, and that's going to be the first round going to Wolves.
I'd like to report a bug there, Tim. To be fair, I thought Stompin was going to 1v4 to win the round for them. Why didn't that happen? That's what we were all waiting for, wasn't it?
It's going to have to be round 2, Des. It's going to have to be round 2.
Well, we'll see if we get that one little worked out of the game code. Azza went absolutely massive in that round, but what I loved about Wolves and their approach to the round was a very slow, methodical approach to it. Didn't feel the need to charge their way forward. Admittedly, coming up against all the utility they did meant they had to do something about it, but it was quite composed overall. It wasn't frantic. No major mistakes made by the team on their push forward either as well. Just really smart, structured play. They've had a brilliant round there. Now we go down to the second floor. G2 still looking for that first round.
It's going to be a case of trying to hold on to that top floor again for G2. I think we will probably see, it wouldn't surprise me to see Alamo on the Clash moving up there to try and keep hold of pretty much the same area that they were trying to hold on to last time. They don't want to give up those verticals. Looking across at the side of Wolves, they don't have too many players there really to take advantage of those vertical angles. No Sledge, no Buck, no Ram. So it may well be that they try to play this a little bit more horizontally. Just having a look, no soft breach charges either. Obviously G2 won't know this yet, but seeing that lineup, I only see one way for Wolves to do this really.
It's again focusing a lot on the Donal though, right, and just trying to keep them at bay. But I think Wolves have already shown from that first round they can play that way. They don't mind playing the dance with G2 around their utility. In fact, in this round, they've brought their own leaders, jumped across on towards that sense. And once they get this wall opened up, they're a pretty good spot to be able to pull off the execute, making use of the sense. Of course, that reminder from the change that came in a while ago now, it feels like can no longer have a warden see through those light walls. Not that there's a warden on the other side anyway, but still able to be incredibly potent. And it's why you're seeing Sense getting rolled out in a number of cases. I want to say I've seen it played at least half a dozen times so far this weekend. It's been good. Trying to get the wall opened up there, but very mindful of the C4 underneath, and there it is, shot out as well. And there's no extra C4 to follow up here as well. That was their only chance.
My concern for Wolves here is that G2 have got 4 up above at the minute. They are defending this vertically, and Wolves are not really doing anything to disrupt them. Looks like, as you said, they want to get that wall open, use some of those Sense gadgets to create a space to get in and put the diffuser down. But it should be reasonably straightforward, and that's a big should, but it should be reasonably straightforward for G2 to deny that from above. They've got Stomping up there with the big old SAS shotgun. There should be plenty of holes opened up onto all those default spots. Wolves really do need to disrupt this top floor.
I think they get one kill though, and it could lead into some more very, very quickly. Oh, they almost caught him out. They had the yellow ping. They knew where he was. Not quite managed to get away with it though, but a nade from Noodle finds Alamau. Loira getting one back on the other side. The hard breacher though has already done his job. Not a huge loss here to lose Tyrant. 4v4.
Loira, of course, we saw in that 1v1 back at reload using the big brain plays. He's going to come out with another big brain plays. He takes the swing onto Krex. There's Stompin's first kill for G2. Takes down Noodle, and that gives G2 a much better footing inside of this round 4 versus 2, and with strong top floor control without going up there and getting those kills, which I think is what Wolves need to do now. They need to chase down those players. They've got 50 seconds. They get one of them, Azza onto Loira, but that was the player inside of sight. The rest of G2 are upstairs and defending vertically. Wolves need to identify that and do something about it. There's no way they get away with a plant here.
You say that, Tim. They've got the ability to isolate out certain lines of sight, making use of the Sense leaders in, and it was Azra leader who went nuclear last time, but no. Sprayed down, is pushed forward into the smoke he goes, but has got to recover that diffuser. I don't think he'll be able to get his teammate up either as well. It's looking a little bit ropey here. No way they get away with it, and sure enough, there's Doki to get the closeout at the end of the round. G2 on the board.
Yeah, much better from G2. I just think Wolves maybe had the wrong game plan, as I say, for attacking that site. They did put a little bit of pressure upstairs. I think it was Azza who got the opening kill onto Alamau, but they just didn't do enough. You can't go into an attacking setup where they've got, defensive setup where they've got 4 players upstairs and just ignore them all. It's unlikely to work. I know they were trying to rely on the Sense and the smokes, but as we saw, it was still reasonably easily dealt with by G2. So from Wolves' perspective, I would have liked to have seen... The thing is, you don't need all of your team to plant in smoke and behind a Sense gadget. You need 1 player, 2 players max. So send 2 or 3 upstairs, keep those G2 players busy, then use your utility and get the plant down with 1 or 2 of you down there. Absolutely, but it's just not really what they were trying.
I'm going to finish that full 3-site rotation down in the basement, and once again, very locked in with the comp. For the most part, I think you're going to see that from G2 for a lot of today. Don't want to see them playing out around the map too aggressively. Although, that said, even when you have these slightly slower operators, things like the Goyo, once those Vulcan canisters are down, you're a free gun. You can go and roam if you really want to. You might not be the fastest at doing it, but that capability is most definitely there. Alamau going to try out the shield once again in this round of the Clash. Him and Doki not had the most success with it so far. Seen some questionable plays over in SAL over the weekend. Arthur in particular, I look back and think, what the hell are we doing with that Clash over on Clubhouse? There's been some magic moments with it, but many have been maybe a little bit more disappointing than you come to expect. And I think it'll be probably a couple of weeks until you see teams really find those power spots where Clash can be most effective.
Nacho going to be sent
Great
out.
C4.
Going to find it's marked. Loira taking down Krex for the second round in a row. 5 versus 4, making maximum use of that utility and looking for more as well. Getting aggressive up onto that door. He's pushed back by the drone that comes in, spots him out. That leaves us now 5 versus 4, and absolutely no answer from Wolves on that opening kill, and even less of an answer as Loira manages to find leader. He's going to get another. Make it 3. Takes down Noodle. Loira looking unstoppable.
He's making it look easy, isn't he, this last couple of rounds? Absolutely frying through members of Wolves. There's going to be a lot for them to try and recover here. Stomping will fall down to Tyrant, but it's a big comeback to achieve, especially against the lineup and the remaining operators on this side. A self-flash certainly not going to help. Now, Azza may have had a solid round 1, but round 2 couldn't find an impact. And I think round 3 is going to go exactly the same way, Tim.
Just seeing if he can get anything going here. Takes a little bit of damage off of Blaz, but Azza, his days were certainly numbered. Loira makes it 4. Loira makes it 1. Loira, Wolves 0.
Yeah. Loira's having a pretty fantastic time, Tim. I think wants to try and take the limelight for himself, but, you know, fair play. Because there's been this like up and down nature of G2 a little bit. You know, Loira and Blaz, obviously the more later pickups before Stomping came and joined the team. There were question marks around, you know, are they the right guys for this team? And we've definitely seen high moments from both of them. Today is one of those games where he's just looking on a different level. And Wolves showing a bit of respect there, coming in with a clash ban.
It was a very solid round from the mirror, and just going to see pretty much a Loira highlight reel here in between rounds. He just had a real command of that site, knew exactly where and when he was going to be pushed from, and took each of them down. But G2, a little bit wobbly in that first round. There wasn't too much sort of competitiveness about their defence up on the top floor. Wolves picked them apart quite easily, but they've certainly settled in to round 2 and 3, and, you know, looked pretty dominant really across those two. Whether that will continue or not, this I think is going to be a really good indicator of, because we're going back up to that top floor where G2 weren't, as I say, really very competitive in it. If they can do a little bit better this time, then you start thinking, you know, yeah, maybe this is going to be a little bit more one-sided than it might have first looked.
Yeah, it was more down to how Wolves approached that first round, because G2's whole approach that round wasn't bad. You know, they were a matter of pixels away from getting the entry on towards Krex. They had a good amount of stall coming through with a Goyo, of course, not being picked up in this round. Looking much more mobile from G2, to be fair, in this round in particular. So maybe you're going to see them being willing to challenge Wolves a little bit more aggressively, but that's not to say that Wolves can't win it. I thought their approach in round 1 was really sensible, very well-paced overall. Didn't feel the need to rush. And then when Azza pulled the trigger and got that entry, that's when everything unlocked for the rest of the team. So it's on G2 really to figure out how they win this site.
Straight away, Azza is thinking about approaching Mask Wolves.
Surely not.
They were getting a little bit excited there, I think. They haven't drawn that fully, because there's no way they walk around that corner to a half soft wall and a mirror window if they're aware that that is the setup that's there. Doki very nearly catching them out on that one, but it's going to make it super difficult to go and challenge onto that mass wall. Doki just needs to be careful here. He is being watched by Azza at distance, but he doesn't need to peek this. He doesn't need to expose himself. He will see if they come around the corner, and he can make the challenge then. As it is, just his presence, and Doki, just his presence and the setup is holding Wolves at bay.
I think Noodle's made the right call as well, in that he's rotated away and gone towards Ops, because otherwise him and Azza, the two hard breach on the team, are sat there waiting for Doki to do something. And that is a lot of time that you start costing your team. So I like how Noodles realised, okay then, this ain't gonna be an easy walk. I'm just getting out of here. I don't need to stay around for this anymore. You can't easily get rid of the mirror because it's the bandit playing on it as well. So very aggressive from Doki, but it's doing a lot for his team here. And Loira is gonna be the first one going down. Krex yet again, the entry on this Finker, starting the march forward from Ops for his team.
A little bit too easy there for Wolves after Loira had a fantastic round last time out. He just had no intel into Ops and had no idea that Krex was as close up to that double door as he was, and really just playing a little bit aggressively there and giving them the opportunity to take the swing. Doki is still convinced that there's somebody out there just that's going to be pushing onto Mask Wall. For the time being, there isn't, but whether Wolves now choose to rotate somebody back into that position or not, we will see. But it looks like it might actually just be move across Skybridge and try to come in through R6 room instead.
This is the last rotation they can make use of in the round, really. They haven't got time to get set up for another one. So but the positions they're in now are the ones they're going to have to play. Last 35 seconds or so, a couple of players have swapped spots on the map, and now they're going to start their push on fours. The problem is, they've only got rid of the one player. Like, it's still good, but it's not the end of the world for G2 here. They've got the ability to play out with a couple of C4s to stall things away here. Stomping under a bit of pressure. Two players starting to press him around him here, but he's looked away at the wrong time. A real siege-timing moment has bit him in the backside there, and Wolves can start their march towards victory.
Blasters managed to pick up one. Can G2 hold on? It's up to Doki and Alamau. Doki manages to find Noodle. Diffuser is down and cold. Wolves have no choice but to just go for the kills here. Alamau finds another, and you'd have to back G2 at this point. Playing it smart, dipping away, not taking the fights, getting the round. Alamau, Doki, two of the most experienced players that we've got at this level, and they show every ounce of that, knowing when they don't need to take those fights, when they can let the clock do the work for them. Stompin was run a bit of a merry tale there, wasn't he? Just spun on his heel as he was pushed from two sides. It was actually, you know, decent play from Wolves, really, after those rotations to start creating a gap, but it just wasn't enough. They didn't have enough time in the end.
I think they left themselves too little time, like you stated, Tim, really leaving it down to the last, like, 35 seconds or so before you complete your rotations to then start and execute. I get it, you kind of realize you're in a suboptimal position, but you're in a 5 versus 4 at that stage. Like, even if it's not like 100%, you can still make it work. And earlier on, it was Krex who was pushing in from that offside as their main man to start things off. They then backed off, reorganized themselves, and pushed the same spot again. Just slowed things down a little bit too much there. That left the window open for Doki and Alamau to go absolutely massive. Good round though for G2, 3-1, and Wolves still chasing that ever elusive second round.
As I said, that first round from Wolves, it looked a lot better. G2, I think, were just a little bit slow getting into the game. Round 2 onwards, they've certainly looked sharper. Top floor has definitely still been Wolves' best opportunity, but are they going to take that top floor mentality into this one? I spoke about it last time. 4 out of 5 from G2 were up on that top floor. It looks like a similar setup, if not identical, coming in from Wolves, and they were intending to play in behind the smokes, behind the Sense utility, and create an opportunity to put the diffuser down. Like I said, that only really takes 2 of you, 1 to cover, 1 to plant. So for me, I'd like to see the other 3 getting upstairs, making life a nuisance for G2, getting a couple of kills up there. Don't allow them to have vertical superiority.
Easier said than done often, though. It's all just saying, yeah, we need that top floor control. And it's like, yeah, well, I want to give it to you. G2 will try and keep that one locked firmly away. Although Wolves are going for a similar approach once again. That gridlock in the Sens coming along as a pairing. Tyrant did go down quite early on last time, if you recall, though he had done his job in using both of those exothermics and getting that crucial wall into sight open that he had to be focused on. Not the end of the world for them. Although inside the first 60 seconds here, no one has fallen down. Kind of surprised that we haven't seen a Brava getting brought along, as so often you see a Maestro these days. Whenever he gets picked, there's a Brava in response, which is why some teams have even opted to start banning away Brava so that you can play a lot of Maestro.
Taking out the twitch there and keeping the cameras alive. The Rotero drone will take out the bulletproof. I think it was just underneath it there, so it should clear it out. But there was a little bit of an obstacle in its way, so I guess it's one of those we will have to wait and see. Taken out again by the Maestro cam. That's the second piece of utility they've sent to try and clear out that bubble, but they have been unable to do so. 1 minute 20 left, Des. Wolves, not much progress beyond getting this wall open.
I'll tell you what, in that game of Robot Wars, it's really starting to build up a bit of a KD, isn't it? That single camera's doing a lot of work for them. They're going to try again for a 3rd time here to clear it away. I'm not sure that's the answer, Chief. They're going to try, unless he swaps away from it, which he has done, and he's now going to miss it as well. In at his feet, that'll mean this camera's gone.
They did get it eventually, but at what cost? 2 minutes have been taken trying to clear it out. Still drawn in top floor. Haven't really done anything to disrupt those defenders that are up there. They may have to take on this plant again without that vertical control. Tyrant does manage to pick up Blaz. That's a big one for them. It gives them access to sight. So now the question is, verticality versus going for a plant. Who's going to win?
He's got himself going into the light screens going down. Last time in this pushing towards the door, he did die. And very cleverly here, impacting out those parts of the light wall so they can still see what's going on. But they're layering him down at this point. And here we go. He's in and planting. And there's not a lot that G2 can do without dropping on down. They're going to have to go aggressive to him, but they haven't got the time to do it. Lee's going to get the chance to stick this. It's a 4 versus 3.
Yeah, much better this time from Wolves. Able to position that light screen a lot better and get in behind it. That was the real key factor that they couldn't do last time. And they also had people, as I'd suggested, keeping those top floor players busy. There were gun battles going on. There were challenges happening at the time where he moved in for the plant. So G2 couldn't focus downwards. What a beautiful shot from Loira, but probably too little too late. 2 versus 3, 15 seconds left to go. Loira manages to find another. Loira's going to get straight on the diffuser as well, going for the long arm, but no. Noodle comes in and takes him down. Doki finds one, but there's not enough time. It's over as Noodle steps around the corner and gets a kill. That's going to be Wolves finding their second round, but it's still 3-2 G2.
Just look for a second then when you might see Loira go nuclear and get the round back round for their side for his team, but no. Good composure in the close from Wolves and a good plan that worked out this time round. Again, not wanting to go and force their way in that top floor. It's not quite as easy as it sounds. Light walls rolled out as well. It's like a red carpet, but in this case, it's blue, just to ensure they can get in. But what I love was they waited for the impact to come in to destroy the first half of the wall, then rolled another one out when they realized they were out of impact. It was good patience being shown by Leader. And patience is probably the word that I'd use to describe Wolves so far, Tim. They have been so methodical and slow, not letting G2 get away with any hijinks or crazy antics, just kind of forced them to play to a very slow standard. And Wolves so far are looking very, very composed in that situation. Yes, it's only 2 attacking rounds they've got so far, but I'd still say overall across the half, they've played very well for a team that hasn't had quite as much time together as, say, G2 has.
Final defensive round for G2 then. They're going to be looking, I think, you know, very much towards getting that 4-2. Last time around the defended basement, it was Loira's 4K that did the work for them. They're not going to have that this time, you wouldn't expect. Loira moving on to the Valkyrie. He played Mirror last time around. Still very capable, still very possible that he could do it, but it just doesn't tend to happen round after round. So G2 are going to have to find another way. Alamau is up on the top floor, one to watch with the Mozzie. Keep an eye at the bottom of his player card. You can see his current location. He's going to actually move back down to the first floor, but we'll see whether he sticks that or heads back upstairs. He's obviously on that roam and he's looking for a potential flank.
He is, but will he be given the chance? I actually love it, to be fair, looking at the lineup for the round. It's even slower than everything we've seen before. Of course, trying to play behind the glass and the smokes is a big part of this. He's quite alone, to be fair. No extra smokes in back pockets, but for Noodle, if he gets himself in the right spot here, as his team slowly get themselves aligned towards an execute, this could be beautiful for them. And then suddenly they get that 3-3 half, he'd be feeling pretty good about it. But for G2, Loira especially, have really kept them at bay, even when it's looked like Wolves might have a ticket to victory in a few of these rounds. Holding out hope now.
3-3 would be great for Wolves, to be fair.
Mega. I think they play well enough to deserve it, I think, though, as well. Because outside of Loira, G2 haven't really been that flash. They've been okay. It's been down to Loira as a big reason why they've won a couple of these rounds. Yeah,
fully agree. Wolves coming away, going on to the defense with an advantage would be a wonderful thing. Krex and Tyrant managed to take down Loira and stomp in. Pressure from above, but if we look now, 2 of G2's players are outside of sight on a different floor, and they are going to drop. It's all up to Blaz playing from above. 5 versus 1, almost certain that Wolves are going to come away with a nice even split half. 3-3 here. Final kill comes in, and that is going to be that. Wolves 3-3 moving on to defense. All of a sudden, you start backing them to take a win here.
Very possibly. I mean, Loira was one of those maps that was more attack-leaning amongst the pack. I was looking at the numbers yesterday with demos, to be fair, and I think pretty much all of our maps currently sit, bar 1 or 2, sit between 52% and 55% defender win rate. So it's pretty bang on. It's not like it's heavily skewed towards one side or the other. And knowing the caliber of both of these teams, you'd expect to see it come out a pretty even affair. I swear to God, Tim, I was joking earlier, by the way. I don't think we're going to see a second map go all the way to 15. The last thing I need today, after catching SAL all weekend, is 5 games all going to 15 rounds. Please, Jesus, no.
You don't want 75 rounds tonight, Des?
No, I can't do it, man. We'll be here till 3 in the morning.
I think my room is currently at about 38 degrees C. I've even opened a top button on my shirt.
Oh, I know, you might notice. That's when you know it's going down. That's the sign of the apocalypse.
Anne was talking about pre-game rituals. My pre-game ritual is open all the windows on the top floor of my house to get it as cool as I can before the game starts and take on about 3 litres of fluids. That's my pre-game ritual tonight.
I mean, for you, I bet your head is gleaming, mate.
Oh, what?
Be careful, it'll look like a crystal ball before you know it.
As if it didn't enough already.
If everyone and ask who's winning this game, Tim, what are you saying now? You really think Wolves, given how they've had that 3-3 half?
Honestly, I think Wolves could do it. 3-3 half. You come in here, lock out 2 out of 3 defensive sites. G2 have been unable to do it. You don't need to win your third choice site. Maybe just win top floor and basement. See what happens on the mid floor. Bang, job done. 7-5. It's not as easy as that, but I genuinely, the way Wolves are playing as well, I could see it happening. Azza's had some really big moments. Noodle, Tyrant going well as well. They could just do with I think, you know, Leader, correct, step up as well and have a couple of big rounds. It could genuinely happen.
And both Stomping and Correct have had quiet debuts so far. Turns out, as much as we'd love to see rookies pop off and go absolutely nuclear, it's hard to expect that. You see it. Yeah, in various esports, it's very rare that you see someone step into their first professional game and absolutely light the house on fire. It does take time to get settled in. That pressure, whether someone says that they're affected by pressure or not, is sort of completely beside the point. It's your first official game. You don't know how you're going to feel in that game until you actually load into the server. And I've got no doubt for both of those players, like they've got a bit of nerves creeping in. Krex, as we saw, was being the entry for his team, often pushing in from ops. And even he was getting into positions where he thought he might be able to get away with something, and then G2 would just slam the door in his face. Krex, speaking of, almost getting the shot in the back there by Alamau, who's ready with a C4, but he's been shot at range there. He's had 2 or 3 G2 players all bearing down on him. There was no way he was getting out of that alive.
Yeah, absolutely targeted by G2 then. They knew that the opportunity was there, and that's an important lesson, not just for Krex, but for any rookies coming into this level of plays that, you know, you will get picked up on. If you're in a position without support, teams will swarm you, and they'll make sure that they get that kill secured. There's a second one as Stomping manages to take down Noodle. Had a little bit of intel, I think. Knew he was coming, but was ready for the peak and took him down. Good start for G2. 5 versus 3.
At least gives them the numbers advantage is the key thing, right? By quite a way now. 5 versus 3. You don't really see teams at this level with this much time left giving these kind of rounds away unless you see someone just pop off on the side of Wolves. But now Leader's gone down as Stomping finds a 2K in the round. I know his fans have been waiting for that one. Could yet make it into a third as well as Tyrant's down to a slither of HP. Still find at least Azza up on nearly full HP here. But Stomping makes it a 3K in round 7. G2 pull ahead once more.
I'm not sure about the side choice from Wolves there. Coming into...
It is a bizarre choice, yeah.
Yeah, coming into the second half, I backed Wolves a little bit, and I said the way they're playing, I could see them, you know, possibly taking a win here. Still, you know, they still could do that, but I think... You know, I said maybe you take top floor, you take basement, you get them 2-1, and then just, you know, however the sort of cookie crumbles on the mid floor, you just see what happens. And they've come in straight away and took that mid floor. And I'm kind of like, you've put yourself on the back foot a little bit. You know, it's a tough site to defend. You can get attacked horizontally. There's an external breach direct into site. You can get attacked vertically. You've got to have your players spread out a little bit. Like, it's a tough site to hold on to. So, yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by that choice. They're going to go up to the top floor now. But I feel like now you come into what would normally be considered maybe a slightly better site, and you're on the back foot. You've just lost one. So, yeah, I'm not really too sure for me. If I was Wolves, I'd have been coming out with what I thought, and maybe this is what they did. Maybe they think that mid-floor is one of their strongest sites. But I'd have been coming out, which 2 sites do we feel we can 100% just lock down, get it done, and then we'll worry about the third one later. But, yeah, they've just maybe given themselves a bad start there.
I'll tell you what, Tim, I'll pull up some stats in a minute, and we'll have a look at how things are set up stats-wise, shall we? And see how things have looked throughout this calendar year so far for maps. And I'll tell you when it loads up what Lair's looking like. I'll talk about it in a minute, though.
It wouldn't surprise me if Lair falls into the same bracket as Cathay, where I'm saying top floor's a better site, and it actually comes out that it's maybe 50-50 at best, and teams struggle with it. But yeah, I can't see that. I'd be surprised if the mid floor were like worse than that, or better than that.
Yeah, top floor. This is a quite bizarre stat actually. Top floor is a 58% defensive win rate. Basement, 37%.
Rough.
Awful.
Maybe it's basement they're trying to
Middle
avoid
floor,
them.
to be fair, Bunks and Briefing is not far off top floor. It's 57%. So those 2 sites are very defender favoured, at least how the stats are set up.
Yeah, it surprises me a little bit. I think, you know, there's so many options with Bunks and Briefing, but Dokit is going to take down Krex. That second round in a row that he will find himself as the opening death. Loira on the Deimos as well, just putting the track onto Azza, and with so much verticality possible here, it's almost a standard, a given, that you will have a Deimos playing underneath if you don't ban them out, and that's going to be a bit of pressure that Wolves will start feeling. Mountain, Alamau on the Monte. Continues the march towards site for G2.
Does he know there's someone tucked in hard left? I'm not sure he does. No, they might rely on the Lion scan here to make this happen. He might pay the price for it, but they see him coming in at the same time that he's getting a challenge in. Alamal's getting a plant down. C4 up over the top. Stomping dodges it away, but that plant should get finished. Yes, it does. Even with Alamal and Halen smoke, they've managed to make it happen, Tim. 5 versus 4, 5 versus 3 as the kills start flying on through. G2 should be the ones coming out on top here as only 2 remain.
That was really important work from Stomping there, just occupying that player in ops, making it difficult for them to focus on what was going on inside. Tyrant, however, just manages to get a double. Let's focus in for a second here. 2 versus 2, but they do still have a clash on side that could be useful. You can plant that shield now. So you can plant the shield and then go for the disable of the diffuser. G2 need to keep the pressure on here. They will do. Stomping gets 1. Stomping gets 2. Closes out the round. And G2 find another attack. Wolves crumbling a little bit on the defense. This does not look like as good a performance as we saw out of them in the first half.
For sure. I mean, to be fair, G2 are starting to cook here. They've had a good couple of rounds. Granted, they're looking really good here. The coordination that last round, I think, to have the pressure come... Let's listen in, actually.
I think what you've got to do is you've got to realize what they're doing, guys, okay? Like, they're genuinely, like, both times, like, you know exactly what they're doing. They want to go... They're not going tables, okay? They're going, that's, like, to, like, green side, right? And the first time, like, you know they want to go side focus. Just don't give them any easy kills, guys. That's 2 rounds now, back-to-back, that we've been in the 4v5, okay? Like, just play hard to kill early round, and then if you want to play retake, you can, okay? Like, just play for the first minute. Don't give them what they want, because right now, what's the game plan, guys? To make it hard for them. We're not making it hard for them. We're making it easy for them. You know? Yeah. Like, we've got to play hard to kill, and then we come up with a plan. Okay? Yeah. Got our head shop. Okay, let's go. Let's go this. We got this.
And in case you're wondering who that voice belongs to, many of you may recognize it.
Our longer term viewers.
Yeah, Kendrick. Many will recognize that from back in the Na'Vi days, of course, back here in the UK. Many of the teams that he played for during that time as well, of course, now stood behind the boys. And I think, yeah, what he's getting to is, like, don't lose the entry. It's the real TLDR you can take away from all the things that he's just said there. But again, I think for both teams, the approach they've had on the attack has been really, really sensible. It's been very slow, very composed, and it's building up well. One thing I will remark on as well, by the way, I know 100% that Doki is obviously backing the new player on their team there as well. Stomping has gone from 1-5 to 6-5 across 2 rounds here.
Well, we quite often see that, you know, we speak about it, don't we? Somebody will be quiet on the defensive half, they'll be better on the attacking half, vice versa. You know, it can be the roles that you're playing, it can be what you're doing within the team. He was playing a lot of smoke on the defense, not generally an operator that, you know, depending who's playing it, a lot of the time that you would associate with somebody getting a lot of kills. Smoke, you want alive at the end of the round, so you don't want to be taking too many gunfights early on. You're going to be playing in defensive positions, you're going to be playing around sight. You know, you're not that player on the defense that's going to be going out looking for kills. So, yeah, I think not too much of a surprise there, but definitely coming online for the second half where he's maybe had a little bit more opportunity. I was halfway through saying as well, his play on the door was really nice, challenging in, didn't overcommit to it, waited for that Dockerby call to come in with the Lion scan, which told him everything he needed to know, saved him from going in and taking a death. It was nice play from him.
And now, of course, we're stepping across onto another round where we've got the Roura coming along, and we haven't seen too much Roura yet in competitive play. I want to say I saw it picked once this weekend over in SAL across the 10 games that we had. So far from being extremely powerful, but as Demo was kind of remarking on at the time, he was saying it's more site-specific. You will see Roura picked up. It won't be super often. Well, here we go. Loira in for a trade, has found himself 2 kills in the round as well. So taking a lot away from the side here. The smoke taken offline early on. The goo mines of the Legion gone. No more recharging. 2 massive kills to get for Loira.
Yeah, losing those 2 operators on the side of Wolves, G2, you know, they won't mind whatever the trade was for. Absolutely fine. You're losing your Twitch. So long as you've, you know, there's no utility going to be left that they're overly worried about. The mirror windows, I guess, if they haven't been taken out, it'd be nice to have a Twitch drone to do that. But otherwise, you'll take the 2 kills that they've got. It's a great start for G2. 4-3. And, you know, right, I cast the Cursed Wolf right after I said coming onto the defense. I like what they've been doing so far, the aggression they've been playing with, the gunfights they've been winning. You know, I'd say it again if you put me in the same position at 3-3. I'd say I think they're going to come out. But G2 have just absolutely woken up on the attack. They look like a different side here. They're doing fantastically well.
Stomping in with a kill for himself here, getting rid of Noodle. Only 2 left standing now, but the thing is, Tim, it's a 4 versus 2 where you've still got a shield on side. Oh, horrible to play against. Alamau's in a very good position here where he can really start to exert pressure onto these final two Wolves defenders. They've not really got anything to stop him. A couple of impacts, sure. As another Aura goes down here, locking off yet another doorway from those defenders, just boxing them in here so they can make this plan happen.
You can see that it's Tyrant there, has Impact Nade in hand, so it's not the end of the world, able to go in and try and make a challenge, but he's firing onto
another one
a head that he just can't see behind that Monty shield. Plant going down, won't have time, kill comes in. There's going to be G2 taking another round. It's 6-3, and Wolves are just battered, bruised, and broken right now.
G2 look a lot more comfortable on the attack, I think it's fair to say, Tim, where they had a few difficult rounds back in that first half. A couple of good ones, let's not forget as well, like the vertical hold of the site from above. Really smart the first time round, did get figured out a little bit the next time around. But I think on the attack, they are just different gravy. Wolves not able to get a single round here. They've had that tack time out from Kendrew. It's changed nothing. This is the last chance saloon for them now. They've got to win 3 rounds back-to-back to send us to overtime, and that's looking quite unlikely.
Yeah, and wherever they choose to go, it's somewhere they've already lost. So I just think, yeah, mentally you end up on a bit of a back foot as well as the scoreboard itself. So a great opening game so far for Stomping, for G2 as a whole. You know, having that roster change come in. They've looked pretty comfortable, especially in this second half. They were certainly challenged more through the first half, but right now you wouldn't like to think that they're not going to close this one out. So they come in on the attack again. It's going to be up on that top floor. Similar roster, similar lineup to what we saw. Lion, Dokkaebi, just make it difficult for Wolves to play in any rat spots, any hidden away positions. You can just go in. They're going to take away the Dokkaebi, but bring in the Deimos. But same again, you know, you can just go in and track those players, bring out the Lion scan, and just leave them going in a lose-lose situation, essentially.
5 seconds to insertion.
All right, this could be it then. Up on the top floor is where Wolves could set up what could be their last bastion of hope for getting anything from this game. That reminder again, they've got to get us to overtime by winning 3 rounds in a row, and then both teams guarantee themselves at least a point from this game. For G2, it will be points dropped. They know from this position, there is no way in hell they should be letting Wolves back into this game. They want all 3 points. They want to start EML off the right way with G2 at the top of the table. If it gets to overtime, whoever wins out there takes 2 points. The loser walks away with just the 1. But as we said a few times, Tim, it's hard to see how Wolves fight their way back through. I tell you what, getting rid of the best fragger in the lobby is not a bad way to start, though. Krex coming online here and removing Loira.
Krex has actually been the opening death for the last 3 rounds consecutively. So him coming out and getting that entry kill is going to be huge for him. You know, as much as we've spoke about Stompin's debut, it is Krex's debut to Tier 1 as well. There's going to be nerves there, and especially when you're taking that opening death, it's going to really feel like it's mounting up on you. You're not getting much game time. You sat watching cams for, you know, awfully big portions of the round. Getting himself that kill and getting himself the ability to stay in the round if he does so here. Yes, gets a second onto Doki. There we go. The confidence starts building.
I mean, Doki really can't be losing that one there. Like, you're playing on the Deimos as well. Like, come on, man. Krex, super well played, though. 2 huge kills to get this round cooking for them. Into another, makes it a 3rd for himself. He has been down by Alamar in response, but Stompin has got it all to do against 5. And as we were saying to him that Wolves might not be able to get this done, they net a flawless round off the back of Krex, making a massive play.
And it's like that's the Wolves we saw in the first half. So I don't know what's happened between round 7 and now. There's been a completely different performance. Wolves come out there and just looked very, very comfortable, winning fight after fight. There was nothing that G2 could do. Krex on a 3k. Great stuff from Wolves. They need to channel that. I mean, Doki here, he had all the answers. He knew exactly where he was. He was pre-firing around the corner, but Krex just took that peek on into it and got the win. And yeah, it was a great round for Krex.
I kind of like Krex's approach to that gunfight. Is like where the standard normal is, you know, you crouch and lean when you're going for that gunfight round the corner. He stayed full stood up as well, so Doki was instead spraying in towards the midriff, in towards the body. And so for the Legion, it was like dead easy, headshot onto Doki, but Doki was of course aiming at a different spot, expecting his head to be elsewhere, keeps himself alive, and then gets that kill onto Alamau as well. Really impressive round from Krex overall. Wolves still with 2 more rounds to go though if they want to see this to OT.
Yep, it's going to be that mid-floor for them, so holding on to top floor, I would expect, although not too many up there at the minute. There's only two, Azza and Noodle at the minute, that are setting up there on the top floor. There was less of a presence for Wolves last time they defended this site than there was for G2, who played with 4 out of 5 up there. I think maybe just being concerned about the tactic that they used, essentially, which was getting in behind those sense light screens and meaning that the verticality didn't hold as much value. So just preventing that from being the case, we're going to see 3 of them on and around site this time for Wolves.
Tyrant's been sniffed out, of course, not really in any danger given where he's running around. By the way, I've got to correct myself earlier. I said downstairs was 37% win rate. I've done a classic British thing there and taken first floor as being the basement. It's not the case. Labs was 48% defense win rate. Armory and weapon maintenance is at 37%, sorry. So very much the offsite that barely anyone plays.
Yeah, that sounds more like it, but like you said, you know, Bunks and Briefing does still have a solid win rate for the defenders at the minute. Let's see if Wolves can do that and stretch this one to all 12 rounds at least. G2, they have got the opening kill, and I can tell you, in all but 2 rounds, the round winner has been the one to get the opening kill, so it does give G2 a big edge here. Blaz took a lot of damage along the way, but still, 5 versus 4. E1D scans still online for now, with those Dorkaby calls possibly as well. G2 certainly got a lot of tools at their disposal. Loira starting to peek on into sight.
He's got a great angle here as well. All it's going to take is Leader to step across, and it's a freebie, but no, the call puts him off and keeps himself in safety as he steps back to remove that call. Also having the ringing coming in from the Lion. They're just begging him to move at this point, but it's not happening, and Krex has got a little play fort set up here on the stairs, Tim. Ready for someone to come challenging, but now he's going to go hunting. Doesn't want to sit still for all that long. Not having anyone to sniff onto just yet. Now Leader's gone down again, this drone play. A kill with a soft breach? Only stomping.
Okay, I'll look forward to checking that one out afterwards and see exactly how that happened.
He goes down from above because it has
saw
gone
the
to
gunshots
KD.
coming in. Yeah, good stuff from Stomping. Loira manages to take down Krex. 5 versus 2. It looks like G2 are cruising towards the win here at 6-4. Loira straight into sight now as the opportunity in the space is available. Starts putting the diffuse down. Actually comes off it, and we'll have to start the process again as Doki managed to find himself a kill. But Noodle, he's up on the top floor. He knows he's likely to be challenged soon, but
they want the KD.
The keeper barricades kind of working against him. He manages to get one, but that's going to be all as G2 lock it out and take their first win in EML.
Solid performance, I think, especially from Loira. He ends on, what, 16 kills or so there? Huge game from him. But I feel, of course, the focus is always going to be on the rookies. For Krex, it was a slow start. Warning towards it later in the game. It's always going to be a bit of a nervy start. Bless Doki. He's such a good cheerleader, bless his heart and soul. And for Stomping, started out rough, but once we got on the attacking side, things really started to pick up. Great stuff to see, and I'm sure there is plenty more to come. For now, we'll go to a break, and when we come back, the desk will break it down for you. See you in a few.